get the concept of what Lynn was looking for. First of all, I didn't say no, because you don't say no to Lynn. So I started thinking, motivational. What really does that mean? And so I asked my buddy, who I ask every question that I have interest in, if I need direction, instruction. Hey Siri. Definition, synonym for motivation. And this is what Siri said. To incite, to move, to prompt, to propel, to inspire. Whoa, okay, that's too much. Lynn is asking me too much, but I couldn't let her down. So I thought, well, what could I talk about that I don't necessarily know how to motivate people, but I know how to talk about me. I can talk about me. I'll talk about my journey. I'll talk about what brought me here. How did I end up in the LPI, right? SLSA, being a part of this amazing organization. When I was 16 years old, I started my legal career. Now, officially, it was 16, but I say I started my legal career much earlier because I started it right here. I was introduced to the legal field when I was in 8th grade. So my 8th grade teacher for career day told us that we had to shadow anybody. Pick a career, pick anybody in your family, your friend, neighbor, and see if they'll allow you to shadow them for the day. So I chose my aunt, who at that time was a legal secretary, and I followed her to work and spent the entire day with her. Now mind you guys, this is the 80s. I'm talking early 80s. So you already know what was not in that office. There were no computers, right? And my aunt was working on this Selectric typewriter, right? Feel me, let me see, that's right. Selectric. Her fingers were flying over the keyboard. And then she would go in her boss's office and she'd write all these little squiggly lines on this notepad, and then she'd come out and she'd transcribe it. And I'm like, you know what that means? I knew then. I knew. Oprah calls it an aha moment. My aha moment was, I am going to be that. I'm going to be a legal secretary. I was in 8th grade. I was 12 years old. But that's when I became a legal secretary. And so at 16, my very first job was as a clerk typist in a law firm. I was then trained to work as a legal secretary, paralegal, and that's when I began to do what I'm doing now. When I was 18, I visited California for the first time. That was a graduation present from my parents. They sent me to California to spend some time with my relatives who lived out here. I spent 2 weeks in California. And that's when I had another aha moment. I am going to live in California. I loved it. It resonated so deeply with me. It's so different than the Midwest. And I knew I am going to be a Californian. And so I made up in my mind, it never left me, I'm gonna live in California. So I considered myself, just like when I was in 8th grade, I knew I was a legal secretary. I knew at 18 I was a Californian. But I didn't move here until I was 40. But that's okay. I finally got here. I just noticed when I was on Facebook, have you guys ever seen on Facebook where they show you those memories? You know, like the Facebook memories? Yeah. I had a Facebook memory just yesterday. It was from 7 years ago. And this is what it said. April 1st is my move. California, here I come. Hashtag grateful. 7 years ago, I made the determination that I was going to move to California. And I posted that on Facebook. And that's exactly what happened. April 1st, I moved to California. I worked for, and still do, work for a law firm called Downey Brand. Familiar?
Oh, yes,
kind of.
yeah.
Still there. The first day, Dawn Willis, I don't know if you're on here, Dawn. Dawn Willis approached me the very first day of my job at Downey Brand and said, you have to come to this meeting with me. It's an SLSA meeting. You have to come. You're going to love it. Donnie Brand will pay for your fee. You're going to love it. It's great. I'm like, what is it? What's SLSA? Sacramento Legal Secretaries Association. Whoa! I had never heard of anything like that before. You mean there's an association of legal secretaries? You mean like the American Medical Association or the Bar Association? We have our own association? Like we get together and we get to be with people who do the stuff that we do? Are you kidding me? I was blown. My very first meeting, like Lynn said, it just happened to be the installation for Lynn transferring her presidency to Crystal Rivera. And before the transition happened, Lynn was, of course, the speaker because she was president and she's doing her Lynn thing, right? And I was just like, oh my God, she's amazing. I was literally, Lynn, you know, you see Lynn. Lynn is a dynamic speaker. And she was so mesmerizing. And I remembered looking at her like, I was having another aha moment. Like, I want to do what she does. I love her. And then she turned the presidency over, and I'm like, you're kidding. I don't get a chance to see her more. But then I realized Crystal was amazing. And then all the presidents behind there, they were amazing. But SLSA became my career aha moment, because that's when what I had been doing for 30 years suddenly looked different. Suddenly I am around people, I'm surrounded by people who do what I do. I get to network with them, I get to talk, I get to ask questions. I don't have to be confused about how to date something. Like, I get instructed on how to be a better legal secretary. And that's when I realized this is the place I want to be. And so I had won a script ticket for conference. Got to go to my very first conference. It just happened to be in Sacramento. I go to conference. I was told that I had to write an article about my experience. I write an article. And then about a month or so later, I get a call from Dawn Forager inviting me to lunch. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, if you ever get a call from Dawn Forager, yes, she loves you, but I'm telling you, she's got something up her sleeve. Because Dawn and Crystal, I'm thinking they're just happy to see me because I'm at a conference, and they're so proud of my little article that I wrote. And so we meet for lunch, and they're like giving me all of this love, and then they slide it in. Have you ever thought about being treasurer? I'm like, okay, what's that? I'm treasurer of SLSA, and I'm like, I don't even know how to manage my own checkbook. How can I be treasurer of an association? And so what they explained to me is that we'll teach you everything you need to know, and they did. I knew nothing about being a treasurer for anybody, and I got all of my training right then. I would come to conference and I would attend those sessions where you're meeting with all the other treasurers and you're being taught how to be a good person and do your job well, all because of this association. So when I think about my journey, I served 3 years as treasurer, I served 1 year as vice president, and I served 2 years as president of SLSA. And so when Lynn asks me, okay, I need you to be a motivational speaker, I'm thinking, I don't know how to do that. But what I do know is, I'll give you an example. So SLSA has an affiliation with our Bar Association in Sacramento, the Sacramento County Bar Association. And the Sacramento County Bar Association has a program called Kids Law Day. You guys ever heard of that? So essentially what it is an attorney is paired up with either a legal secretary or a paralegal, and the two go into the schools. We literally go into schools, and we're doing what happened to me when I was in 8th grade, career day, right? But we're going in and we're talking about our profession. The attorney, you know how attorneys are, they love that. Oh, this is what I did, this is what school I went to, and the kids get to ask questions, and they're asking all sorts of things like, have you ever put anybody in jail, or have you ever met OJ, like those kinds of things. And so, when they would get to me, when they get to the paralegal part, I decided that I didn't want to focus my topics on just me. Because, okay, you've already heard what it takes to be a lawyer. You don't care about what it takes to be a paralegal or a legal secretary, but you do care about you. So what I would do is I would go around the classroom and I would pass out these cuties, the same ones you have on your table. And every student would get a cutie. And then I tell them, as I'm giving them cuties, I'd say, what do you want to be when you grow up? Now you've heard what we do, okay? What are some of the things that you'd like to do? And so then the kids would raise their hand and I would have the attorney, because I made them work. I would have the attorney write on the whiteboard, on the board behind us, every career choice. We had baseball players, we had football players, we even had people who wanted to be their own YouTube designer and YouTube content creator. Doctors, lawyers, veterinarians, they ran the gamut. And so as I told them to hold their cuties in their hand, we talk about what are some of the things that you would need to know to be some of these career choices, right? Of course, you need math and science and English and things like that. And so I would say, well, there are some things that you don't always directly know in school. I said, how many of you guys have siblings at home, older or younger? Just about everybody raised their hand. Even if they didn't have a sibling, they got cousins, they got friends. And I said, has anyone ever come in your room and taken your stuff? How do you feel when your little brother comes and bothers your babies? Or your big brother comes in and is teasing you? How does that make you feel? So we can talk about it. I'm angry. It makes me upset. I get irritated. I said, what do you do about it? How do you deal with that particular thing? Well, I would yell, or I would scream, or I'd tell mom. I say, I want you to hold up your cutie. And then I tell them, if I take this cutie and I sliced it in half, will I get grape juice? No, they say. Well, what if I threw it really hard on the floor? Would I get apple juice? No. Okay. What if I squeezed it really hard with my hand and let all the juice run down my arm? Would it be pineapple juice? No, it wouldn't. Why is it that no matter what I did to this cutie, what would I only get from here? And they say orange juice. And I say, well, why is that? Why is it that no matter what I did to this cutie, I would only get orange juice? And they say it's because that's what's in there. And that makes sense, right? So then I'd ask them, then what happens when someone squeezes you? What happens when someone irritates you or cuts you or slams you or does something that makes you come apart? What comes out of you? The only thing that can come out of you is what you put inside. So if you put anger and animosity and acrimony and hatred, if you put those things inside of you, when someone cuts you or someone squeezes you, someone irritates you, that's what's going to come out. You get to choose every day what kind of person you want to be. What do you want inside of your cutie? Today, I will tell them, today is when you choose what kind of career choices you want to be, but you also get to choose what kind of person you want, because guess what? No matter what career choice you have, whether you're a lawyer, a legal secretary or paralegal, doctor, YouTube creator, baseball player, somebody's going to always irritate you. Somebody's going to always get on your nerves. Somebody's going to always push your buttons. And you get to choose what comes out when you squeeze. And so that was what I would tell the kids for Kids Law Day, and it's what I would tell you when you pick up your cutie before you go home. Think about what's inside of you. What are you putting inside of you when someone squeezes you? And you can't hide it, because what's inside will come out. I was thinking about my time as president of SLSA. And whenever I look back on the start of 2020, I know every president in here will vouch when I say it was nothing like we expected. Nothing that we planned on doing happened. I was gonna be. I could just see the kind of president I was gonna be because I had perfect examples in front of me. But I wasn't able to do any of those things. And what I thought about was, nothing was as it was supposed to be, or maybe it was. Maybe everything was exactly the way it was supposed to be. Maybe the things that showed up and the changes that we had to make is exactly what needed to happen. There was creativity in me that I didn't even know I had until I had to do it. You know that phrase, you don't know what you don't know until you know it, right? Like, I didn't know that I didn't know how to do some of the stuff I did until I had to do it. And when I realized, I'm like, this, I would never have been able to tap into what I've been able to tap into but for COVID, right? But for this pandemic. But what I want at this time right now is to just take the time, if you don't mind. I want to thank the people that were a motivation and an inspiration to me during my presidency. I don't know what it was like for your associations, but for us, we lost membership. We didn't have anywhere near as many volunteers for things. If you were president, like a lot of us, you wore several row hats, right? Because you didn't have people to take on chair positions. And so there were people that, in spite of all of that, were right there by my side, and I would like to honor them right now. First of all, whether they're here with us or on Zoom, Erica Gardino, thank you so much for believing in me, for allowing me to be a part of your baby. I am LPI, I'm sorry guys. Giselle Mitsuck, I don't know if you're on here. Thank you for stepping in and taking the oars of the bulletin, because it was my nemesis. I was not good at that bulletin, and I prayed for someone to help me with it, and she stepped in. So Giselle, thank you so much. Dawn Forger, thank you for believing in me, even when I didn't believe in myself. Crystal Rivera, thank you for being my eagle eyes and keeping me sharp and alert. When I tell you guys, this woman is the best proofreader on the planet. I love you so much. Christy Kelber, my registration chair, thank you for your diligence and your acumen and always wanting to go the extra mile with me. Sarah Martinez was our secretary. Thank you for, she was my vice president. Thank you for your amazing ideas and always ready smile when I crack my corny jokes. Alicia Malaraby was our treasurer. Thank you for staying true to yourself in spite of all the obstacles, potholes, and inspiring me to do the same. Daphne Boyd was our secretary up until the time when she could not any longer. Thank you for being a shining example of what true family devotion looks like. Now these three women, I had to acknowledge them together because of the drastic impact they had, not just on my life as a president during the most tumultuous time I think our association will ever have, but just on my own personal life. Dawn Willis, Corrine Rotter, and Brenda Johnson, CCLS, thank you for loving me, supporting me, and having faith in me. Thank you, I love you so much. And finally, Lynn Prescott, CCLS, was, I remember being treasurer and about to possibly step into the role of president. Our then president, Brenda Johnson, CCLS, had already done 2 years. And it looked like she was gonna have to do a third term because there really wasn't anyone to step up, and I was gonna step up and do it. But I wasn't quite ready. I was treasurer for 3 years. I felt like I needed more time. So I called Lynn and I said, can I talk to you? And she took time on a Saturday to come all the way to Sacramento, to West Sac, at Nugget, to sit with me and talk to me about what it takes to be president, to ease my fears, to tell me that she knew I could do it, and in fact, she encouraged me, just sit as vice president for a year. Take your time, and then you'll be ready. And she was exactly right. Lynn, I love you. Thank you so much for guiding me, for assuring me, and being an example of what true good leadership is. Please hold up your oranges. Today, you are going to decide. You are going to decide who you are, what's inside your cutie. What's inside your cutie. Thank you, guys.